All right. We're just going to have a quick book chat about The Road, pages 151 to 193. And again, I'm just going to uh, pop around to some of the important pages and talk about some of the things I'm noticing here, where you might be noticing here. So I'm going to start right away on pages 150 to 151. And once again, the boy and the man are having a conversation. And for those of you who might be having trouble keeping track of the narration, um, try to, as you're reading the dialogue, figure out at least one line, maybe one or two lines where you know specifically who's saying what, and then in light pencil right before it, write either the letter B for the boy or the letter M for the man. So here in the middle of page 150, uh, where the dialogue started, it says, "We could take two of them," the boy said. So right in front of that line, I'd write the letter B because I know that's a boy. And then, I mean, you do have to pay attention a bit, but odds are in a dialogue, the words are going to go every other. So you could start with the B and then immediately after M, B, M, B, M, B, M, B, M. All right, sometimes the man might speak twice in a row, so you do have to be a little bit watchful, but that might help you if you're having trouble keeping track of who is saying what. But anyway, they're still hiding out in the bunker, but the man and the boy head up to the surface, and they're kind of looking around at well, they go to this town in the middle of 150, and they go into a market, and it says they passed a metal trash dump where someone had once tried to burn bodies. The charred meat and bones under the damp ash might have been anonymous, save for the shapes of the skulls. So it could have been anything, but they did see the skull. It didn't smell like anything. And they go into the store, and there were empty boxes, grocery carts, and he has to try to fix his own shopping cart. So he looks at the wheels and see if there's any he can fix them with. And then the boy says, "We could take two of them. We could take two of the carts." "No, I could push one. You're the scout. I need you to be our lookout." "What are we going to do with all the stuff?" "We'll just have to take what we can." "Do you think somebody's coming?" "Yes, sometime." "You said nobody was coming." "I didn't mean ever. I wish we could live here." "I know. We could be on the lookout." "We are on the lookout." "What if some good guys came?" "Well, I don't think we're likely to meet any good guys on the road." "We're on the road." "I know." And the boy says, "If you're on the lookout all the time, does that mean you're scared all the time?" "Well, I suppose you have to be scared enough to be on the lookout in the first place. To be cautious, watchful. But the rest of the time you're not scared." "The rest of the time?" "Yeah. I don't know, maybe you should always be on the lookout. If trouble comes when you least expect it, then maybe the thing to do is always expect it." "Do you always expect it, Papa?" "I do, but sometimes I might forget to be on the lookout." All right. So, I mean, the boy, like I said before in the previous section, the boy and the man, they're almost kind of switching places here sometimes, where now it looks like the boy is almost being a little bit more of a rational one. And, given what he's just experienced with, getting attacked by the trucker and seeing the bunker and being taught how to use the rifle, he's having to do a lot of growing up really fast. And he's seeing that, like, being that helpless little boy isn't serving him well. So now he's really, it's like he's almost questioning his dad to, like, see how he should behave when he becomes a man. And then a note I put here at the bottom of 151, right after the dialogue, says, "The man is revealing his constant fear here while the boy is showing that he's growing." So the boy, he's being a bit logical. He's being really logical. Like, "We could take two carts to take all the stuff in the bunker." And the guy says no. And the boy's like, "There might be good guys coming on the road." And the man's like, "Well, there's not going to be." And the boy's like, "Hey, we're good guys." So, I mean, you could interpret that as the boy is hopeful that there are other people like them because he truly believes that they are good people. Or you might be able to interpret that as the guy or the man always telling his son that they're the good guys, but maybe not believing it so much himself. Because the boy says, "Well, there could be good guys, there could be people like us." And the man's like, Well, there's not going to be because we're not the greatest people either. I mean, take it how you will. All right. So the man, he seems to be a little bit paranoid, and you can determine for yourself whether that's, out of the ordinary and should be concerning, or whether you're like, hey, it's the apocalypse. Go ahead and be paranoid. All right. So then on page 154, I mean, in between there, they're just eating, sitting in the bunker, all that kind of stuff. And at the bottom of 153, going over into 154, he turned and looked at the boy. Maybe he understood for the first time that to the boy, he was himself an alien, a being from a planet that no longer existed, the tales of which were suspect. And then here's where I have a part in parentheses. He could not construct for the child's pleasure the world he lost without constructing the loss as well, and he thought perhaps the child had known this better than he. Okay, so why I highlighted that passage is, if you've ever heard the phrase, it's like, it's better to have loved and lost than never loved at all. The man, he kind of believes the opposite, where he doesn't want to bring up the old world to his son because it would just remind him of how much the son actually missed. So, I mean, what's the point in bringing up things like aliens or toys or whatever have you? Or even like that Coca-Cola in the Kool-Aid packet that he had. Trying to bring back the happiness of having those things actually just kind of makes it more sad. It's like if you think about a relative who had died, or and then you try to tell like your new boyfriend or girlfriend, it's like, oh, I wish you could have met my grandma. She was so cool. Like you would have loved her. Blah blah blah. It kind of almost brings out that, well, why'd I can't. This is a difficult thing. I wish I could, but I can't. So it's kind of that pain of knowing. So he has this sort of dilemma in his heart. It's like he wants the child to know about things that aren't just the apocalypse, but that might make the boy's heart ache for something he never knew. And, would that be cruel? All right, let's skip over to 156 through 159. There's another conversation. And they're talking. I mean, they're finally leaving the bunker. They have a cart loaded up, and in the bottom of the paragraph, the boy says, "Do you know where we are, Papa?" The boy said, "Sort of." "How sort of?" "Well, I think we're about 200 miles from the coast, as the crow flies." "As the crow flies?" "Yeah, it means we're going in a straight line." All right. So the notation I have, another indication that the boy doesn't know what the previous world is like. He's never seen a crow before. He's never heard that phrase before. And so down there at the bottom it says, "We're not going as the crow flies." Because crows don't have to follow roads? Yes. They can go wherever they want? Yes. Do you think there might be crows somewhere? I don't know. But what do you think? I think it's unlikely. Could they fly to Mars or someplace? No, they couldn't. Because it's too far? Yes. Even if they wanted to. Even if they wanted to. What if they tried and they just got halfway or something and they were too tired? Would they fall back down? Well, they really couldn't get halfway because they'd be in space and there's not any air in space, so they wouldn't be able to fly. And besides, it'd be too cold and they'd freeze to death. Oh. Anyway, they wouldn't know where Mars was. Do we know where Mars is? Sort of. If we had a spaceship, could we go there? Well, if you had a really good spaceship and you had people to help you, I suppose you could go. Would there be food and stuff when you got there? No, there's nothing there. Oh. They sat for a long time. They sat on their folded blankets and watched the road in both directions. No wind, nothing. After a while, the boy said, "There's not any crows, are there?" "No." "Just in books?" "Yes, just in books." "I didn't think so." "Are you ready?" "Yes." Okay, I'm gonna skip a little bit of this just because it's long and they're talking about, a crow again. So up top of page 159, after the boy's kind of disappointed in what he learned about crows, the man says, "Are you ready?" Yes. He stopped. The man said, "What happened to your flute?" "I threw it away." "You threw it away?" "Yes." "Okay, okay." So the boy had a little hand carved flute, and the man thought he would really like it, and he did like playing on it for a little while, but um, now the man says, "What happened to your flute?" And the boy's like, "I threw it away." So symbolism, all right, so music, or kind of having a little toy that symbolizes the boy's innocence in his like little innocent pleasures. He was happy to have the Coke, he was happy to have the Kool-Aid. He wanted to have, keep that dog that he saw on the road. And so like all these little uh objects that are very sort of childlike. Now he threw it away. All right. And it's really, like I said, a throwing away of his childhood. We're seeing as the book progresses that the boy is growing up. And again, whether he wants to grow up or whether, it's just kind of something he's forcing himself into, that's really up to you. All right. Um, I'm going to skip ahead quite a bit to page 181. No, I'm not going to do that. I am not going to do that. I'm going to. No, I am going to do that. I'm going to skip ahead to 181. I'll make the next video, I'll make a part 2, and that'll just be all about Eli, because we need to talk about Eli. Alright, but I'll skip ahead to 181. I'll talk about the smaller things in this video. Alright, so page 181. Again, they have been walking on the road for a long time. They pass some cars, they pass a train, and they go up inside of the train, and the man, he kind of does this cute little thing where he lets his boy play pretend for a bit. And so the boy sits in the engineer's seat and he pushes the lever forward and he makes train noises and choo-choo noises and stuff. Well, the man is doing this, but again, because the boy hadn't, never ever seen a train in his life and didn't know what they were, the boy's just kind of watching there. And the man's, again, he's trying to do that thing where it's like he wants to share the joy of the previous world, but the boy doesn't really get it. So he says, "Can we go, Papa?" And he says, "Yes, of course we can." Um, but then why I'm turning to page 181. At the top it says, "The world is soon to be largely populated by men who would eat your children in front of your eyes, and the cities themselves held by corps of blackened looters who tunneled among the ruins and crawled from the rubble, white of tooth and eye, carrying charred and anonymous tins of food in nylon nets, like shoppers in the commissaries of hell." The soft black talc blew through the streets of the ash. The ash blew through the streets like squid ink, uncoiling along sea floor, and the cold crept down and the dark came early, and the scavengers passing down the steep canyons with their torches trod silky holes in the drifted ash that closed behind them silently as eyes. So the man is he's looking at these just small signs of people that he's seeing out there in the road and all that kind of stuff. And he's kind of reminiscing about the looting and the cities, and just kind of how sort of degenerated all this stuff is. But why I chose this page to share with you is because you'll notice, when he's talking about the looters who came with putting their food in nylon nets, and the soft black talc or the ash blew through the streets like squid ink uncoiling along a seafloor. That is imagery of the ocean, and if you remember, they're trying to get to the ocean. But however, maybe this is a little, foreshadowing, or maybe this is a parallel that you might be able to see. It's like this is ocean imagery, but it's dead. All right, it's dead ocean, black ash like squid ink, and nylon nets in the commissaries of hell. It's not an image of the ocean that's like alive and thriving. It's like death ocean on land. So as we get into the ocean scene, keep that in mind. All right, watch for part 2. It'll be here in a sec.